Brandon here from Building Wealth Flow. So we're going to do the final walkthrough. Once completed, it's now all been clean. I'm going to get you some of the final numbers so that you can see what it all cost. The walkthrough, I love it. I love the finished product. You know, even down to in the master bath, having that bench that you'll see as I do the walkthrough. My wife, she wants that. We don't even have that in our own house, but it's all these little tricks of the trade over the last now 5 years since I've been building. Each one, I make tiny little tweaks and perfect that floor plan and add the little details that don't cost a whole lot, but add a lot of value to the tenant and to the product. So I always think about not only just renting it, if I were to have to sell, what does the market want? So hopefully you enjoy this walkthrough. I pray that you have stewardship of the knowledge and money you're entrusted with. Please like and subscribe, ask questions. I'll be happy to answer what I can, and hopefully you enjoy. All right, everybody, we're done. We started in November. Here we are in mid-May. I'm filming. I know this is going to come out in June, late June, as a matter of fact, as I've got it on the schedule, but we're done. So I'm going to turn around and you're going to see the finished product. 2 houses side by side. You can see, I'm trying to get it back far. This is that over 100-year live oak that we were able to preserve. Time will tell throughout the years, but it's still looking pretty good. They're both the same inside. The floor plan on this one and the floor plan on this one, but we had to make the elevation a little different. And then we're going to do the walkthrough. But on this one, actually, we were able to get the vaulted living room a little higher because of the way the elevation was. On this one, the materials, there's a little bit more painting, a little bit more materials because it doesn't have this hip roof. It has this gable roof, but we're able to, in the living room, get a little bit higher. It's about 1.5 feet is my guess. Vaulted, I like it better. The total cost on this one was just about a couple of $1,000s more for the material, but I like it better. It looks more substantial than this one, even though the square footage, everything's the same. So let's do the final walkthrough and you can see the finishes of this one. So this one, just remind everybody, this is Tin Lizzie on the gray, alabaster on all the white. The black is iron ore. That's all the colors from Sherwin-Williams, and let's walk through. These are 4-foot wide windows. And here is the walkthrough. You can see, now this is an electric fireplace. It's got, I think it's 10 or 11 different color settings. It actually will push out heat if needed. You can see we've done the beam. All these beams are stained the same. The mantle changes we made from the last build is we made these mantles more substantial. It used to be just, an inch thick, and we decided to make these a little bit thicker. We made the beams here a little bit thicker. Like I said, this is about 1.5 foot higher than the other. I don't have the exact measurement, but it just makes the volume of this living room more. So what we do is we paint the island. This is shiplap. We paint the island the same color as the exterior. Crazy thing, We had to change out the plugs, some regulation. We're going to put the plugs back in, but we had to put a blank face on them. We actually have the plugs, and we're going to put them back on. You can see that beadboard. I love these lights. What you can see here in the kitchen, these are undermount lights. What I will also want to show you, even on these, brush gold fixtures. These are soft close. I add these shelves, and I've mentioned before, these shelves come from Urbandi, so we're trying to match that stain because they come pre-stained. Some of the things I like, you can look at these. This gives a little more shelving. It's 4 shelves, and we've got that corner. And then, like you're seeing, the cabinets, all soft close. GE appliance for the microwave. We had to do Frigidaire because they don't have this back here. I'm doing all the controls up front. I don't want it back here other than the vent because we're using this spice rack. And this is 6 inches deep, so they can put a lot of things there. They've got enough space for it. You can see the island. I'm continuing on with this brushed gold thing and a 50-50 split. I might make a change to just one solid one the next time. Little things I was making sure for the button for the garbage disposal is gold also. I had to order that because they didn't have those in gold when I was trying to match everything. 4-foot window to give plenty of light, plus the door. I'm going to walk through. Let's go to the master. I enjoy this change. We put both windows on the back instead of on the side wall. We've got a trade ceiling to just give it a little more depth with the can lights. And then we'll walk through and get to the master bath. So it's a double sink. We do the sconce lighting, gold fixtures. You can see I'm doing these instead of hooks where you can slip it on. The same thing, little things. Even for the toilet paper holder, instead of it being a full loop, it's where you can slip it on. We've got the cabinets above the toilet. And now you can see the master shower with the gold fixtures. That's called a waterfall feature. I'm doing a different color on the tile, that herringbone kind of look with the black. Doing the gold, brushed gold sluter. I want to show you something even on this. So what I make sure we do, even on this, a lot of people, if they're not paying attention, they'll do this flat. This is going to be hard to be able to see with video, but we tilt this just slightly to where the water flows out, and so it doesn't pool there, keeping it completely flat. It's got a slight cant, just barely noticeable, where the water will flow back out. So this is a big feature with the frameless glass. Another thing I do, this is the master closet. You'll notice we stained all the poles there. Each side has boxes and trays, and then you've got the double racks with the shelving in it. Let's walk through again. This is going to be a longer video because I want to show the finishing details. You'll look on the cabinets above. We're doing crown. This finishes it off. It's the little things. Little things, what I use the term is little things speak. As we're walking through, I'm going to show you this other bathroom. Another vanity cabinet style. This one here, it's still, we're using that gold Schluter, but we've got the niches in here. Cabinets above the toilets. We're giving plenty of of cabinet space. This is the next bedroom. I did show, and I just want to show how we do the boxes for the closets. I mean, double racked, and then all the boxes for the closet. Plenty of closet space. Walking through. This looks out on this tree. There'll be plenty of shade in the morning. This is where the morning sun is. I've got things to hang a TV. These are all set at 6 foot, and then they're blocked. So there's a 2x6 behind that sheetrock to be able to anchor things. And then here you've got the double tray with all the box for shelving. So that's this walkthrough. We did, these are quick set door handles. I was using another brand. They weren't quite as good quality. These quick set ones feel more substantial and they look great. Final thing I want to show is in the garage with this built-in little table here. I've got to cut this one piece off here, but this is wide enough to put a fridge or a 48-inch toolbox. And then we've got the 240 plug. This I'm thinking about this area, lots of blue collar, HVAC, electrician, plumbers. They've got this little niche here for them, for space to work. Everybody loves this to have in their garage. But that's it. Let's walk over to the other. Not going to be a whole lot different, but just at least do a walkthrough of it. I can show a few differences. The tile in the kitchen here is just a little bit different tile than the tile that we used in this one. So it's the same tile from the showers. It's a sage tile. And the other one was called Thyme. It's a glass tile, but let's walk through here. Slight differences. So you can see islands painted that green. This tile's just slightly different. I think we like this one going forward a little better. It's called Sage. Trying to think anything different. We did have a few extra pieces of tile. I wish I'd have been able to do it in the other, but we made this one instead of the white. We had some other green there that just dressed it up a little bit. The ceiling height, a little bit lower because of the hip roof. We couldn't go up any higher. But it still looks good. We still did all the different staining and those open shelves. That's pretty much it. Walk through one of the backyards so that you can see that. This one doesn't have the same amount of trees like the other one does right over here, but it's still a decent little backyard. These are small lots. These are 50 by 75. So what we did on this one, we pushed the house up. I think it was around between 2 and 3 feet. We pushed it forward to gain an extra couple feet back here for the backyard. I know y'all can see this, but I always pour a nice little back porch area for them. And that's pretty much it. We'll get to the office and I'll write on my whiteboard all the final costs. We'll go through all this, but this is the walkthrough. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll be doing this all again here in a few months. I've got 2 more lots to go and we're putting this on the market now. Just did in the last few days with the pictures, and we'll hopefully get this rented real soon, and I'll go over those numbers in due time. Okay, Here we go. So I'm going to go through the details. Hopefully I can remember all of it. There's so many things that have happened over the last, now I guess, little over 7 months, maybe 7.5 months of this build. We started in November. We finished the very end of May. And here it is, filming once I was able to get back over there, the very first early June. This will publish in late June. Hopefully you enjoy this and you've enjoyed this series, and then the next filming will be once it's rented, going over the financials. So if you want to look here, I've got the two addresses, 5718 and 5720. I did make one change because we got the final appraisal with all the measurements. Before it was 1730, it came out to 1,700 square foot under roof. So I made that adjustment. And I want to go through some of the numbers. So the flat work, which is the driveway, the sidewalks, that back pad for the porch there, the flat work came in at $3.20 a square foot. The tile work, which you saw it in the video, so we're doing a backsplash tile, which is not always done. We're doing that backsplash tile. We're doing in both the extra bathroom tile surround with a niche built in. In the master, we're doing custom tile work with 3 different tiles inside of that master shower with the frameless glass and the little bench. The other things, things we did, we put a little bit of marble on for the window eave there in the kitchen. Those are little touches instead of a wood. It had that little shelf there for that tile, for that window was in marble. Hopefully you saw that in the walkthrough with those shelves, the wooden shelves, all the woodwork that we do inside of it. That tile work cost us $3.16 a square foot. I could cut those costs and make it more basic. This is my own personal preference, and what it's already costing me to build being so good, I'm adding these custom features to it. I appreciate it. Why I do that is maybe I was conditioned from 2008. When I'm doing these builds, one of the worst case scenarios I think of is if I were to have to move out of our house and move into one of my rentals, would I move in there? And so I'm building them as if I were going to live in them. And that makes me build them just a little bit nicer, and I'm just very proud of those builds. And it just makes me proud of what I'm doing, and if I had to live there, and I think the tenants get that benefit of that little custom work. It's the little details that speak. The fencing. We had a different fencer a few years ago. We found a good fencing guy that's he's charging us $19 a linear foot for stained pickets. These, with the crossbar, the cross pieces, they're 2 by 3, or actually 1 by 3, 1 by 3s. But the pickets are stained, and he's charging $19 a square foot. It's concreted, the poles are concreted in. So it's a very good fence work, and it's costing $1.21 a square foot for this build based off the 1,700 square feet. The interest carry. So for each product, we finished a little early. So we did, the interest carry ended up costing $2.49 a square foot. One of the little lessons that you learn when you're building, as you're building a project, people ask, what should I budget for interest cost during the construction? I tell everybody you want to do 40% of the build. So if you're, this one, it ended up, the loan for the construction was $183,750. I'm budgeting whatever that dollar amount is for the total build cost, 40%, and then I take that 40% of what that number is, time the interest cost for that product to put it in as a plug-in number. Now that's if I can build it in roughly 9 months or less. If I were to build it longer, I might budget 45 or 50% of the total cost to construct times my interest amount to get that plug-in number for interest carry during the project, because you start at zero and you're slowly drawing up that loan over time till the end when it's the full amount. One of the things that I did on this project is I did a floating rate instead of a fixed rate, because at that time back in October when I closed on it, I knew interest rates were going to slowly tick down, or I at least projected it, and that is what happened. And interest rate when I started was at 7.5, and when I finished I was at 6.5. So as my highest draw period was at the end was my lowest interest rate. The highest rate was when I was at zero in the early draws, and it went down as the Fed was lowering rates last year. Now I'm at prime minus on my construction on this, and so I'm now at 6.5%. So my interest carry only ended up being taking the 35% of that loan of 183,750 and times 6.5%, because where it's at today. So that's that number, and it ended up being basically $2.50 a square foot. What I wanted to go over, and then on the other project right beside it, the 5720, those are all the same, so I didn't write it again. Biggest savings throughout this project was at the early stage, and actually is the biggest line item, was framing material. Back then lumber was down, and we saved some money from the previous build the year before. So on 5718, we saved $4,700. On 5720, we only saved $3,700. That is because it was a different elevation, and the cost for the materials was a little bit higher, about $1,000 higher. So we only able to save $3,700. From our plumber, we saved $1,486 on both builds. And then also on the interest carry, we finished up, I'd say about a month earlier than normal. We had a pretty dry spring here till just recently. And so we were able to save roughly $1,350 in interest carry on both properties. Our biggest overages, I thought I'd share those too. So the roof. Lessons we learned. Something new we learned on this build. Not only putting those two windows side by side facing the backyard in the master bedroom, is we changed our roof product from a level 3 shingle to a level 4 shingle. So those are 40 to 50 year shingles that can withstand a whole lot of hailstones, which we have a lot here in Texas. So it ended up costing me an extra $670 to go from a level 3 shingle to a level 4 shingle. We made that decision, I made that decision, and it saved us on our insurance cost over $250 in savings on interest, being a level 4 shingle that I sent over the documentation, and saved us $250 a year starting year 1. But then also, as you're holding back reserves as it's a rental over the time, you're going to have to roof that over a longer period of time, which saves money also, not only on the insurance cost, but saves on when you have to re-roof it. I've got a friend that put level 4 shingles on his, had several big hailstorms over the last decade. His house now is at, he said it's about 14 years old, had it inspected, still does not need new roof. It's still in great shape after 14 years and multiple hailstorms throughout the years. So I think that's going to be a big savings going forward. I'm going to use those level 4 shingles only $670 difference. That's a big one. Hopefully you can appreciate and learn from that. My trim was a little higher. The trim guy that we had before, he ended up retiring, so we had to find a new guy that did trim. The materials ended up costing us a little more, and his labor cost us a little more. I appreciate what I did. It still was overall, the bill was a big savings. So I'm coming down here to the final numbers. So on 5718 with that hip, it was a greenhouse with the hip roof, it ended up costing, when we final billed, $198,200. We saved about a little over 3% than what I projected from the previous build. The second one, 5720 with the gable and the bigger roof line, ended up costing $202,100. So that's about $4,000 more. Part of that, there's a difference. So I paid more for the 5720 lot. I still paid more for that lot than 5718. Finished up at $119 a square foot versus $117, but we had other savings. So our waste and disposable, we only needed one trash bin. So we saved money on that, and we ended up saving, I want to say it was around $900 just having one for both builds versus one for each build because they're built in different locations. And then the porta potty, we saved about $700 because we only needed one porta potty versus having to have one for each property. I thought that was some tremendous savings. I put it on the 5720 property because I paid $17,000 for this lot, and this lot was, I think it was around $10,500. So I put that savings over here because I paid more for the lot and kind of evened out the costs on that. So this one ended up being $202,000. This was a $198,000 build. They both appraised for almost right at $270,000. And that was my cost to build, including all costs, including closing cost for the construction loan and interest carry throughout the process. Total all-in cost right here. So hopefully you enjoy looking at all those different numbers, looking at the build throughout the process, final numbers. I'm building equity day one with what it appraised for, and these are reasonable ones that they appraise. Most of these builds, every time over the last several years, they appraise between $265. I've had them appraised as high as $275. $270 is probably right where the middle is, right where it's at if I were to sell them today. But these are great built-in wealth. Each build, I'll start again, 2 more coming this fall, using the same floor plan, so I don't have those costs for building out a new plans and unknown costs. Doing it with a different look, there would be different costs. I'm doing the same formula over and over again. I'll be honest, it is getting boring, but it is getting dialed in perfectly, mastering it. Every build making little changes. I don't know if there's going to be any changes on the next ones. They're pretty much the same. I think I've built this floor plan 5 times, tweaked it every time. I'm down to very minor changes. We seem to be dialing it in. Like I said, if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer what I can. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please let me know how you thought of the series. This is number 4 on this, and then now I'm going to be doing once it's rented, and hopefully be able to do an interview with my builder, and we'll talk through the process. Till next time.